welcome to Introduction to CPT Coding. We're going to just start off here, real briefly, kind of talking about CPT. So let's go ahead here. Let's get into medical coding. This is going to be an exciting semester. Completed all those medical record courses, MedTerm, A&P1, A&P2, and now we're going to get into the coding aspect. All right, so first of all, we're going to talk about CPT codes. These are the physician services and procedure. So this is what a physician charges. Okay. HCPCS codes are supplies, drugs. They start with a letter. Okay. CPT starts with a number. And your hospital side, they also are going to have a diagnosis code and procedure codes, but they're going to be ICD-10, CM, and PCS. All right, level 1 CPT. These are category 1 codes, and we'll talk about them a little bit more. Again, these are physician services and procedures. For level 2, these are national codes, and these go ahead and report supplies, drugs, equipment. They do have a letter code to start off with. Okay, now diagnosis codes. This course, CPT, we won't be focusing on diagnosis. We are just going to be focusing on physician CPT codes. So diagnosis codes, everybody can use them. Okay. A physician office can use diagnosis codes. Skilled nursing, long-term care, hospitals, anything has a diagnosis code. So if somebody, let's go to the next one here. So let's just sum this up. CPT codes, once again, is for physicians. Okay, this is how a physician gets paid for their service. So real easy, let's say that they did a surgery, open reduction, internal fixation in the hospital for a patient. The physician needs to get paid for what they did. Okay, the coder submits a CPT code. And that CPT code has an X amount of dollars. That's how the physician gets paid. The physician and the hospital both use diagnosis codes. Okay, they have to, what did the patient get diagnosed with? We're going to say they got diagnosed with an open fracture of the tibia and fibula. That code should match up between the hospital and the physician office. Okay, so that's ICD-10 CM diagnosis. That's in your other course. Okay, ICD-10 PCS, these are strictly inpatient codes that a hospital uses for procedures to get paid for their services, their room and board, the prep and drape, so everything surrounding that surgery. So once again, the doctor gets paid on the CPT code of actually doing the surgery. On doing the surgery, while the hospital gets paid for supplying room and board and everything else there. Okay, so why codes? Computers understand numbers. We have specific descriptions attached to each code. Okay, CPT, it was developed already in 1966. We updated every November, and we start using the new codes January 1st. We have 3 different categories, and it's, once again, it is an annually comes out new book every year. Okay, so let's go ahead here. Examples of types of CPT code. Okay, we have our medical, we have surgical, we have diagnostic services, anesthesia, and then we have category 2 and 3. So category 1, let's go back to that. We will talk about these a little bit more, and I can talk about them here at the end. But there's one thing to really remember. We have 6 main divisions of category 1. These are evaluation and management codes, So it'll be like office visits, ER visits, hospital visits. You get the word here, visits. Um, then we have a section for anesthesia, surgery, which is the biggest section of the CPT book. We have radiology, 7,000 codes. We have path and lab, 8,000 codes, and then medicine. So CPT codes, they allow for communication that's both effective and efficient. They are a mechanism to report a service not described by a specific CPT or level 2 code. All right? Okay, so let's go with this. Okay, this is a renal endoscopy through a nephrostomy, pylotomy with the irrigation installation of uretopilography, exclusive or radiologic service, with endopylotomy includes a cystoscopy, uretoscopy, dilation of the ureter and uretopelvic junction, and insertion of an endopylotomy stent. Or 50575. That's the code for this procedure. So it's a little bit more efficient way to be able to put just a code number. Okay, so codes. They're used to tell third-party payers about the services, procedures provided. They're often used as a basis of payment. Incorrect coding. So if we have incorrect coding, this results in providers being paid inappropriately, either over or under payment, decreases cash flow, and it can be a big liability risk. Codes are used, as I stated, by CPT. It's going to be outpatient, ambulatory. Okay, so we have clinics. So CPT is used by clinics, hospitals, even though I said ICD-10, PCS, keep in mind you have outpatient services in hospital. So CPT is going to be used for the outpatient procedures, right? Where ICD-10, PCS, those procedures are inpatient, okay? Remember that. CPT codes are used for outpatient procedures, whether it's for the physician to get paid in the clinic, or for their services as an inpatient, or for the outpatient aspect in observation, ER. Okay. It can also be used for rehab units, ambulance, long-term care, or here's the key point, wherever healthcare services are provided by a physician. Okay, outpatient services physician. These are reported electronic billing statements. CMS 1500 is the universal paper form. So what that is, they put with the CMS 1500, everything gets filled out, the patient's name, address, insurance information, and then you're going to put on there that ICD-10 CM diagnosis code, and then you're going to put the CPT code on there. It's sent to the insurance. That's how the insurance knows what to pay and who to pay. And that's what the form looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about CPT format. We have symbols in the CPT, right? They're used to convey information. They're at the bottom of your manual CPT book. If you look at the bottom of the page, you will see these different symbols. So a triangle, it changes modifications to the code description since the previous edition. So it goes from year to year, and the triangle means, oh, we changed the description. Let's just say that this possibly said bilateral. Now it's unilateral. A lightning bolt means that it's pending FDA approval. Right here, you will see new code. That means it's a new code for this edition, for this year. So that's something too. And then you have that sign right here, the pound symbol. That means that it's resequence symbol. Sometimes it gets a little sketchy. Not everything goes in quite order. So if you see that pound sign, you may have to look around. Triangle means revised code, that they changed the code description. Right and left triangles is beginning and ending of text change. So they did a little bit more here, changing the wording within a paragraph. Okay, so the add-on plus code. The add-on code, one thing to remember, and I will be saying it multiple times this semester, is that the add-on plus sign, this code right here, can never ever be used alone. It's an add-on code. So 11001, you see it has the plus sign, and look below in parentheses. It says use 11001 in conjunction with 1100. So you have to use both codes. Okay, they can only be used with another specific code, never alone, no reduction for multiple service, and there is a full list in your Appendix D of your CPT book. Okay, what is the purpose of an add-on code? So a lot of times it's using an add-on code is to show the furthest extent of the procedure. So I would say right now, go ahead in your books, it's in the surgery section, okay, and look for those add-on codes. See what you find. Try to find one. Circle with a line means modifier 51 cannot be used with these codes, and we'll talk about modifiers, shortly here in this semester, where you'll learn a little bit more about them. Just remember what that symbol is for. Circle, just a plain old circle, means a recycled code or reinstated. That means it was in the CPT book at one time, they took it out, now they brought it back. Okay, this is really important here is your appendixes of CPT. A is probably the most important, or you'll use the most, is the modifiers. They're 2 digits. Appendix B is very good to look to see what's new, what they deleted, and what they revised. Appendix C, what was removed from 2023 or 2022 or anything like that. Appendix D is add-on codes. E or 51 exempt, modifier 51, same thing with F, modifier 63. Okay, Appendix G is used to include moderate sedation. This was deleted for 2017, so you're not going to see this. And H, performance measures. And I'm not going to read through these. You can read through the rest of these. I can tell you you're really not going to use these as an entry-level coder. All right, so let's go ahead. These are the big CPT sections. You really, really need to know these. Okay, E and M. A lot of time people say, why is the E and M listed first? As I said, E and M stands for Evaluation and Management. This will be one of the first sections that we go to. And the reason that they're used first is because these are services. Usually you always have to start off with a service. So if you go into the doctor's office, it's a service. They see you, it's an E&M code. Okay. If you go to the ER, the doctor sees you, you don't have anything done, they just check, let's say, a bronchitis, you get put on an antibiotic. It's an E&M, evaluation and management, it's a service. So the doctor, the physician always starts off with that service first. And so that's the first thing that you are going to start off with. And we will get, in a few weeks, we'll talk more about that E&M section. Okay, anesthesia. These codes here start with zeros. Okay, anesthesia codes do. We won't be spending a whole lot of time on them this semester. We will spend a little more time on them next year. Then we go to surgery. Okay, this is the biggest section of the CPT book. One thing I like about the surgery section, it's laid out really nice. It starts pretty much with the top part of your head and it ends with the bottom part, your feet, okay, with your toes. So it goes through each section and they're pretty mapped out the same. Radiology, These are going to be all 7,000 codes. They can be anything from X-ray, CAT scans, MRIs. We have Path and Lab. This will be 8,000 codes. And then the medicine section. Okay, these codes will be 9,000. So like 90281 through 99607. These are usually different diagnostic things that a physician will do. I'd like to say medicine is kind of non-invasive, all right? Where it's going to be testing like an EKG, or it could be different psych codes, for evaluation. Cardiac catheterization, that's also diagnostic. So you'll see a bunch of different codes in here. We also have immunizations. They're all listed in this section, so we'll get familiar with them as we go on. All right, so with the CPT, it's into 4 different sections. As you can see here, if you open up your book, this section here is surgery. Okay, that's the section. I told you before, that's the biggest section. Now, a subsection would be an example, the nervous system. All right, as you can see, that's in the green. And then subheading, what part of the nervous system are we looking at? We are looking at the skull, meninges, and the brain. In categories, injection, drainage, or aspiration. Surgery guidelines, they're at the beginning of each section. They just give some good description. Notes must be reading located throughout the CPT. I always tell students, read your guidelines, read your notes, because it explains a lot about a code. Okay, we have standalone codes. With these, you have 2 types of code in the CPT. You have standalone codes that have complete, full description, all right? And then you have indented codes that are listed under that related standalone codes. The description for these codes depend on the information in that code that precedes them. All right, so here we go. So if looking at this standalone code, you see 26010. All right, that is a standalone code. So if I have, they did the procedure, drainage of a finger abscess, and it was simple, I would code 26010. Okay. If I had drainage of a finger abscess, see the semicolon? See how this is indented? And it was complicated, I would code 26011. So the big thing here is that semicolon. Everything after that semicolon drops when you use 26011. So once again, standalone, if it was simple, is 26010. Otherwise, if it is an indented code, it includes the description preceding the semicolon, which I would go drainage of finger abscess, complicated. That's how I would read 26011. We'll get more practice of that. Okay, semicolon, it indicates the full description in the preceding code. You must return to that standalone code for the full description. Some of these have a lot of indented codes under that standalone code, so sometimes you have to go through a couple of pages to get to the code you want. Okay, modifiers, 2 digits. With the modifiers, I'm going to explain them briefly because we're going to get much more detailed with modifiers. So what they do is they explain modifiers. Their 2-digit codes are always 2 digits. Okay? They're placed after the CPT code, and it gives additional information to third-party payers. Go ahead and look in the Appendix A, look at all the different modifiers. Like I said, I'll look at those more coming up. So 62 modifiers, 2 surgeons performed a surgical procedure. So what they would do is have the CPT code, which is going to be 5 digits, 5 numbers, dash 62. You also have level 2 HCPCS modifier, and those are going to be in the front part of your CPT book. actually right on the cover. If you open up your CPT book, you're going to see those HCPCS level 2. These are just a little bit more detailed, like F1 was a left hand second digit. Okay, so here it just shows you how we're going to write out that modifier. 62 is the example they give. So we have 43820 is our code, -62. Okay, and it has a spot on our CMS form to put that modifier in if we use one. Now keep in mind, not every code's going to have a modifier. Okay, unlisted services, codes ending in 99, no specific category 1 or 3 code. You use it if you cannot find anything more specific, but then you have to send a special report because they want to know what that exact procedure is. Okay, category 1 codes. These are approved by AMA, the food or FDA. In our category 2, these are tracking codes. They kind of see some of your teaching hospital, bigger hospitals will use some of these tracking codes. And what they'll do if they use them a lot, they'll say, hey, possibly next year we need to make them into a CPT code. All right, and then we have new technology. These can be temporary codes up to 5 years, emerging technology services and procedures. Category 3, they have not been approved. Okay, special or written report, what all needs to be in there. The index, okay, I do want to start here. When you look up a CPT code, you go to the back of the book. This is where your index is. You're going to look for keywords. Like if you're doing evaluation and management, you're going to look up for the keyword evaluation management. If you're doing a surgery in their excision, okay, if they're taking like a mole off, you're going to look for the keyword excision. Okay, it's like a dictionary. First entries, last entries. It helps you get to where you need to be a lot quicker. I had some students who would just go right to the book or the musculoskeletal section to look for a code. Always start with the index. And here, this gives you a good example of the index. If they look under repair, iris, right here's iris. Was it repair of the iris with a suture, ciliary body? And then it gives you just different codes. So it gives you a place to at least start from. So same thing here, repair, toe, was it the muscles? It gives you a start. Okay, single codes, 38115. Multiple codes in the index are going to have a comma, right? That means you should look up both codes to see which description fits the surgery. Then you have a range of codes. So that code that you're looking for could be anywhere in that range. Okay, so locations methods in the index. Once again, we're still in the index. You can look for the service or repair. So I could be looking for service or procedure. I could be looking for repair, excision, the site, which is medium nerve, the elbow. Condition, was it a cleft lip, clot? The cinnamon would be the toe, interphalangeal joint. Eponym, joins procedure, Heller operation, or possibly abbreviation. So you're going to find all these different things in the back of the index. Always, always reference the index. Locate that code in the main portion of CPT. Read the entire description. Read any notes that you possibly can. See in the index, it says, you'll see that a lot. So if I look up STEM, brain, it'll tell me go to brainstem. Okay, so if you do that, then that's where you go look. All right, I know this was a long video. You may want to go through, listen to it again, or certain parts again. You can do that. If you have any questions, please reach out. Be happy to answer it. Welcome to CPT.